Sourdough round 2. Since my last video and my last major fail, you can watch that right here. I've gotten a lot more tips and tricks on how to make my sourdough better. So I have my desk with my computer and my recipe and all of my notes set up. Today I'm following the recipe from the regular chef. I've been watching his YouTube video. He has his recipe written on his thing. So I'm actually following his exact schedule, which I failed to do in my last video, to follow the actual recipe person's schedule. So he said last night to mix my leaven. I've learned since last time that your leaven is not the same as your starter. Your starter is what you add to your leaven to create the thing that makes your bread rise. So last night I combined my starter with flour and water to create my leaven. It rose and fell. It didn't fall as much as I thought it would. It's nice and bubbly and active inside. The next day we mix our dough in our autolyse. This is also the first time that I've mixed my starter a whole night in advance. Normally my leaven, like in the last recipes I've done before I started putting it on YouTube, the first few times I tried and I got okay doughs. In the past I'd always done this like the same morning of and let my thing rise and fall, or really just rise within about 4 hours. And I think I would use it at its peak. And now I think I'm not using it at its peak. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I know what an autolyse stage is now. I don't know what that is. Letting the dough hydrate, maybe. 0 that. Measure my water in grams. 750 grams. 700 initially, 50 grams added after the autolyse. So a large bowl with 700 grams of warm water. I have a good feeling about this one, mostly because I'm starting when he is recommending and I see the actual time schedule and I just feel a lot more clear about this one. 200 grams of my leaven, which is about, should be this whole thing. 0 that. Let's see if we can get to 200. That is literally exactly 200 grams of leaven. Mix, disperse it throughout the liquid. This is also my first time mixing my leaven with my water before I add the flour. It seems like such a, I'm sure, like it doesn't make the biggest impact, but you know, that's the interesting thing about sourdough is maybe it does. Maybe it does make a difference. But I'm willing to try anything. This is my whole wheat. Now we mix. Really appreciated this guy, the YouTube video, because I felt like it was just very clear. He spoke normally, he explained the things. I feel like a lot of other YouTube videos just assume you know. Everyone says that, you know, it's a video for beginners, but it's not really. They still assume you know some stuff. And sourdough is a whole other language and I really don't know how I'm supposed to know anything. So his instructions are written so clearly too. Like his website where he has a recipe, it doesn't look like a blog. It looks like a Word doc that you follow along on. And I really appreciate that. I think it's so much clearer and easier. And he writes like a human, not like somebody trying to write a recipe. Our flour is completely saturated and it's pretty much like a shaggy mess. And it's supposed to be like that. It doesn't come together in a ball or anything. You let it rest for 30 minutes in a warm environment. I've also learned, someone gave me a tip on Instagram. She's amazing. She gives me so many tips. Turn on the oven. I'll show you. And I'll put the lid on too. And then it says, allow it to rest in a warm environment. So this is typically like a proofing basket, but we don't have those typically in your home kitchens. Those are commercial kitchens. So instead, turn on your oven light and that creates a warm environment inside of your oven. So you allow that to rest for 30 minutes. So now we mix together the last 50 grams of our water and 20 grams of salt. And then we'll just set this aside and add it to our dough in about 30 minutes. Now you can go get some actual work done in that 30 minutes. And forget that you're a wannabe dough maker. It's been 25 minutes, so we can take this out. You pour the salted water in and then just incorporate it into the dough, I guess. I'm gonna pinch it with my fingers and incorporate. Okay, so in my last video, I said that men tend to have more complicated recipes than women and more detailed recipes than women. And I will say again, I think that's held to be true because this recipe is by the regular chef. It's a guy. And this step of like dimpling in the salt and the last bit of water is an extra step I've yet to see a woman do. It's just, and maybe I'm not, you know, following super like technical women sourdough makers. I think the women are just looking for like ways to feed their family. Whereas like some of the men are just looking for like how to get the technically best loaf of sourdough. It says that we're gonna transfer this to a bulk container and let it sit for 25 minutes back in that warm environment for the bulk rise, but I'm gonna leave it in this bowl. Cover it, let it both rise for 25 minutes, back into the oven, and then we'll start our sets of stretch and folds. So he says 5 rounds of stretch and folds, 25 minutes apart. So I'm gonna stretch from the bottom and fold over top. Turn, stretch, fold, and then I cover, let it rest for 25 minutes, cover, let it rest for 25 minutes. Do it again. It sits in the oven with the light on every single time in between.
Your alarm is set for 12:41 p.m.
I had to take quite a bit of pauses to work, take some calls, do some stuff, which is so crazy that I don't know how people do this sourdough thing with work. I guess you do it on the weekends. Wet my hands, and then the next set of stretch and folds is a lift. Mine is sticking to my bowl. Okay, I don't know if it's supposed to be that stretchy. And then he folds it back down. The lift, and just like lie it back down. He calls this like a gentle way to do it. I think the dough looks really good. I just, I'm a little bit worried because I did let it sit for a little bit longer because I was on a call for an hour. I don't know if that makes a difference. He says by now it should have grown by 20 to 30%, and it definitely has grown. So that's so nice. Gonna let it rest for 10 minutes, and then I think we get to pre-shape. Lightly floured surface, dough. Flour my bench scraper, and then divide this into 2 loaves. He divides it into 3, but I'm gonna be okay with 2. The unfloured side goes onto the unfloured work surface, and then we shape it into a ball. This creates tension in the dough, I believe, which I'm not very good at. Definitely don't feel like I'm doing this right. Okay, so I actually think towards me and then away. Towards me and then away. And let it rest, and these have been resting for 25 minutes. The final step is to shape them into the circle. Flip it over the middle, and then this over the middle. Why is this so stressful? Left and right thirds over each other in the same way. Definitely quarters, are they not? Just 4 sides. In the same way. Up over the loaf. Over the loaf. Oh, I lift them up to the right side. And then I think he pinches everything shut. I just feel like the shaping part can't be that serious, really. But I could be wrong because I'm wrong all the time. I think everything is not that serious, and then my loaves come out subpar, and then I realize it was that serious. I just don't understand why it's that serious. I can take this, put it into my bowl. Oh, I didn't flour my bowl. Oops. And then into my bowl, dust the top with flour. Cover it. The longer it sits in the fridge, he said, the more sour of a taste it gets. I actually prefer the sour taste, so maybe I'll put it in for 6 hours. Inside. So it's been in the fridge for 6 hours, and the oven has been preheating for almost 30 minutes. Put it out on the parchment paper. It looks really good, I think. Oh, it looks so beautiful. Do you want to see it? I think it looks good. I don't know. Okay. And I still feel like it should be fluffier. Give it a quick score down the middle, around the side, I guess. This is the best my bread has ever scored, so I think that means I have good tension in it. Wow! How cool! Right now, straight into the Dutch oven, 20 minutes with the lid on. It just came out of the oven. This is hands down the most beautiful loaf I've ever made. I put it on top of my stove because I don't have a cooling rack, but oh my gosh, it's actually really, really beautiful. I still don't have the rise that other people have, but I'm gonna take it. I think this is really, really good. I wish I had a higher rise. I don't know how to achieve that. I don't know what I did wrong. I'm not a perfectionist at all, so when my things don't come out perfect, I'm not mad at it. I always say, like, good enough is good enough. Good enough is perfect to me. So I'm gonna let this cool before I slice in. I might actually let it cool overnight because it's kind of late. And slice in tomorrow morning and have fresh sourdough in the morning. Ugh. Underbaked. Stodgy. I don't know. That is disappointing. Same thing. And this one baked for a little bit longer. You can see that. I let this one bake for like an extra 5 minutes maybe. I'm pretty disappointed. I mean, it's better than last time, but it's just, I really had high hopes for this one. Last time I knew I was like not following the right schedule. I was unprepared for that schedule, but this one, I feel a lot more prepared for. I stuck to it. It's either over or underproofed. I don't know which one. He said 4 to 6 hours. I did it for 6 hours. It's good, it has a subtle sour taste. I could go for more sour, but it's there. It's obvious it's there. Thanks for watching, guys. I might have to take a short break from sourdough, but let me know what I should bake next. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.